Hello, and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I'm Matt Rossi. I'm your host. With me are my two co-hosts. I'm trying to come up with a better adjective for them because I use fantastic a lot. Fabulous, exceptional, terrifying. I mean, you guys figure out what you want to be. But Liz Harper and Joe Perez. Hi, guys.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
So pre-show was kind of a mess because, it's getting to that time of the year. It's December 13th already, and everything is like collapsing inward on us, and we're like, God. So, a lot of news today. I think it's safe to say that.
I did a list of things that happened today, and
Yeah, I thought I had done a comprehensive job on the email, and then you came in with that thing, and I was like, oh my God.
So much happened just today. It's like,
So last week, this one was last week, so we can at least talk about this one first because it happened further ago. During the Game Awards, we got the release trailer for Diablo 4. We now know that Diablo 4 will be releasing in June of 2023. We also got to see in the new cinematic that our old pal Inarius, who hasn't been seen ever, I should point out he's never actually been in a Diablo game. He's from the books. He made his appearance in the new trailer. He clearly still kind of holds a grudge against Lilith, based on his reaction. And the trailer itself it's full of the same really kind of like, I don't know how else to put this, but every cinematic they've been releasing for Diablo 4 to me feels like if you found this in somebody's notebook, you would desperately be trying to get them help. Like it definitely feels like the kind of thing that you'd be like, young Matt's feeling negative about himself, I see. Which, that's what Diablo has always been, so I'm okay with it. But I did find it like really, what the woman is walking out on the lava without shoes on, and then the army comes up behind her, and they're all absolutely identical, and it's just very, you're getting a sense that something is being played up here, although the subtext is not actually text yet. It's kind of hard to tell. What did you guys think of it?
I mean, it's an astonishingly every time Diablo does one of these. They're astonishing. Try to find some new adjectives, but that's the one that keeps coming to mind.
That's what you guys will be. You'll be my astonishing co-host. All right, cool.
They're horrifying, but they're also just beautifully put together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super here for it. Like, it was absolutely just gorgeous. It was exceptionally pretty to just like experience. I really liked the lore implications of it because that's who I am. It's our brand. We are definitely on that brand. But I was super excited about it. I was super happy to see what looks like another Paladin order. I was super happy to see Inarius. I like the way that Lilith seems to be being portrayed up front. It's not as haughty as it was in the books, at least from what we can see so far. Definitely imperious, but definitely not haughty. So I'm here for it. Like, I'm just excited. Like it got me up in that mind space of, yeah, I really cannot wait for Diablo 4 to release now.
Yeah, I want to know what this stuff means. I want
Yes.
to know what the implications are. How long has Inarius been free? Like, did he get out during the Dark Exile? Like, how long has he been out? He says he's returned to Hell. When did he leave Hell? Because the last time he was in Hell was the end of the Sin War where Mephisto took him.
It's been a while.
But like Mephisto then got exiled along with Baal and Diablo as part of their plan to turn Sanctuary into a base to attack Heaven. Did he leave? Did he escape then? How? Because if that's the case, if he got out then, he might very well have helped found the Zakarum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting thing.
Especially because we're relatively confident that those were the Zakarum, or at least an offshoot of it that was that zealous order. For little spoilers,
they have the Zakarum symbol right on their shields.
They do,
just right there.
And spoilers for anybody who didn't listen to Lore Watch, you should go listen to Lore Watch. Like, there is an unknown angel that was just referred to as essentially the word that the humans used for angel. That showed up and founded that particular faith and set them on their path. We don't know.
The name is Yarius.
Yarius, yeah. We don't know when that was, right? It could have been eons ago. It could have been a long time coming.
Well, we know when it was because we know that it was during the time that Akarat was alive. The thing is that because of the Sin War and because of what happened to Elysian, the the existence of Akarat and the creation of the Zakarum might not have originally happened before Odyssean basically wiped himself out of existence. He changed history because he wasn't in it. He removed himself from history and in the process altered it. So that's something to consider. And yeah, we're going way. We're gonna have to move on and talk about other things. But yeah, Diablo 4. It's coming out in middle of next year. Set your calendar. I'm thinking it's going to be pretty interesting, all told. But another thing we could kind of talk about is World of Warcraft Dragonflight, because I don't know if you guys know this, but today was the start of season 1. I want to say season 2, which is ridiculous. It's season 1. There is a lot going on.
Season two did just start in Overwatch, so it's like everything happens at once, and then your brain gets all muddled.
I don't think my brain needs anything to happen to be muddled. But regardless, some of the things that are going on, I'm going to talk about one of them first because I don't even understand what the trading post is. So I'm going to mention the trading post. It isn't actually out yet, but they made a post announcing that the trading post is coming. And to my admittedly jaundiced eyes, the trading post looks a lot like a kind of weird version of the Battle Pass, where you do various things on a monthly timer, and they grant cosmetic rewards. Like I think the picture for the post that they put up was one of the rewards was the glittering horsey mount. I can't remember its name, but you guys remember it.
Sparkle Pony.
Celestial Steed?
Celestial
Steed. Yes, Celestial Steed.
Celestial Steed. Yeah. Technically.
But I think Sparkle Pony is, in fact, it's on its driver's list.
If not, I petition it to become its new name permanently.
But regardless, so I'm not sure, like, is this going to be compelling? Is this going to be something people do? I find myself wondering, because it does kind of have the whiff of a battle pass, but it doesn't have any kind of in-game currency attached to it, and you don't have to pay for anything from it. So I'm not. 100%.
You don't have to pay anything, but it does have an in-game currency attached, because of course it does.
Oh, but isn't that the one that gives you get the cosmetics with that currency, right?
Yes. Okay.
All you can do is buy these cosmetics with it. And it's kind of a limited thing. Every month, you are going to get 500 of the currency. You're just going to get it. They're just going to give it to you to buy whatever cosmetics you want to buy. And you can also earn 500 more currency through various events, maybe PvP, maybe World Quests. Like, it sounds like they might mix it up, but you can only earn a max of 500 currency. So you get 500 currency, and then you can earn 500 more currency if you feel like doing it. But it sounds like because there's a mix of things that will earn it for you, it's not going to be a big headache to earn the currency. And also, you're not going to feel compelled to like grind it for months and months, because there's a limit to how much you can earn. There's a hard limit there. So I think it's kind of a nice perk. It's a little weird. It does remind me a bit of a battle pass, but it doesn't seem like a bad addition to the game, certainly.
It doesn't have the kind of stuff that really bugged me about Diablo Immortal's Battle Pass. Like you need frozen orbs, give us $20. Give me another $50 and I'll give you even more frozen orb. So it's like, at least the currency is something that you can just get, and you can get through playing the game, and there's no buy now button flashing anywhere. So
yeah.
I mean, listen, if it gives me an excuse to get a fancier schmuck for my jewel crafting outfit, because I like the fact that it automatically switches me into my cool jewel crafting bib whenever I go to the table, I'm okay with this. Like, I will probably participate for that alone.
Yeah, I mean, World of Warcraft, if we want to get a bunch of people from Azeroth to do anything, say, hey, we got a pet. I will fight the Lich King for that pet. Yeah, yes, you will.
Yeah, a pet, a silly hat, anything like that. A duck.
Oh God, if there's a duck involved, I make no promises for my civility.
See, I've already got a duck. I got a duck I wear on my head all the time. But maybe if there was like a duck. No, actually, I have a duck battle pet too. There is a duck battle pet you can get. So they just need to add another duck of some kind, like a shoulder duck. That we can have. You can have head duck, shoulder duck, battle pet duck, and if you are a hunter, you can then tame a puck. I keep saying puck because I cat puck, but you can tame a duck, and then you can have 4 ducks, 5 ducks, because you can have 2 pets with the right spec. So you could actually have 5 ducks on you at all times. At this point, you're kind of turning into Scrooge McDuck yourself. You've got Donald, You've got Huey, Dewey, Louie. I can't remember the girl's name, and that makes me feel bad. Not Daisy, the little girl one. But you could always have Daisy. There's Daisy Duck, sure. Yeah, you could do that.
Abigail.
Thank you, Abigail.
It took me a minute. Or
DuckTales,
Webigail, something like that.
It was the new DuckTales was actually pretty good. But that's got nothing to do with anything. Let's move on to more actual stuff. The world bosses are now live in the game. According to our site, which is what I checked, it's Basaracon the Shale Wing to this week. Something I didn't know until I noticed that everyone was posting about it. Unlike previous expansions, this week the Vault of the Incarnates launches for normal, heroic, and mythic this week.
Yeah.
So they're not doing that thing where next week is mythic. They're just straight up, it's all open now. If you want to jump into mythic immediately, go for it. If you want to do like a run through normal and a run through heroic to get better gear before you jump into mythic, you can do that too. So yeah, that's kind of fascinating to Liz, I know you're aren't you like streaming part of this?
I'm going to be doing some casting for BDGG. Wow, I need to learn to say that name, I guess. But yes, today all of the guilds, like every guild, has been doing normal and heroic Vault of the Incarnates, and there have been very few steps into mythic by anyone because everyone is trying to gear up. There's a lot. Usually you have a week to do your heroic splits, your normal splits to collect tier gear, to do another round of mythic, to just get all geared up. And now no one's had that, and no one seems to want to dive into mythic. I still don't think we've had a mythic I still don't think we've had anyone get the first kill for mythic.
Yeah. I'm interested in that, by the way, because I'm very curious what the power creep is like from heroic to mythic, because on dungeons, at least, unlike Shadowlands and previous expansions, jumping from heroic to like mythic 0 it didn't feel like that large of a gulf as it usually was. I'm curious how it feels going from heroic to mythic on the rating side of things. Like if it's that much of a jump up, because like we were talking about it a little bit or at least I was catching up on the chat that was happening in Guild Discord. It doesn't really seem like they added a whole lot of stuff between the difficulties versus some of the other past bosses we've seen.
One of the things is that they just introduced today the new mythic keyword as well. That's the thundering one. I believe that's new for today.
Yeah, they just rolled out.
Well, that's dungeons.
Season 1
right?
started today. Yeah, for Mythic plus dungeons.
So if you're going from heroic dungeons to mythic dungeons, and it hasn't felt particularly hard, at least now you know that they've got the thundering affix added in. It's the special word. Well, whenever I say that, I always feel like that's. You guys remember Pee-wee's Playhouse? I always feel like the affixes are the special
word of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing is those don't exist in Mythic 0. Those are Mythic pluses, so keys.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying
specifying for those
out of 0.
Yeah, I'm specifying for those at home. That's all.
But in addition to that, we've got the Primal Storms event, which is kind of similar to the Primal Storms event that we saw that before Dragonflight went live. So if you remember that, it's like that, but now it's in various zones in the Dragon Isles. I think right now on my server it's the Waking Shore. Appears to have one. I didn't see one in any other zone, but that doesn't mean there aren't others. But it's basically it's similar to that event, and including the fact that you can get item level 359 gear, which is about the same as running a heroic. So you could theoretically just do the Primal Storms events and get gear on par with heroic dungeons to make going into Mythic 0 and normal raiding a little bit easier. Or you could be like me and you were busy all day, so you didn't do any of that. So if you do go to the raid tonight with your guild, you will be severely under gear. But hey, I'm actually thinking of just waiting a week because I don't want to be the guy there who's literally not pulling his weight. But yeah, you guys are raiding tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
I'm usually the one not pulling my weight. So.
Oh, yeah. We can have this argument. I love having you in guild.
All I'm gonna say is, if you guys want somebody to show you just how bad somebody can play the game, I will be online and you can invite me with the new system that's been placed for this expansion. You can bring my Draenei to your Horde raid, and then you'll get to see some really bad play. It's going to be a race. It's a world first race to the bottom, guys.
We already have a floor tank, Matt.
I don't tank anymore, man. I can't see.
Well, I mean, floor tank is what we call the person that dies first and then stays on the floor for the entire.
Oh yeah, I can do that for you. No problem. I'll be so much better at that than anybody you've got. You've no idea. But yeah, so that's happening. I'm really interested to see like how the fights go over, both narratively and otherwise. Like I'm curious. Razageth being the first boss of the first raid, it feels to me like there's no way Razageth can end up dead at the end of this.
They've already sort of spoiled that, and I know that we probably shouldn't talk about that yet because it literally just got spoiled today. But like there is a cinematic, and it advances the story.
Yeah, the content got released today, so the cinematic is in the content. This raid ending cinematic, which go run the raid or go over to Wowhead and check out that cinematic if you want to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything here.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't spoil. Sorry, I had to stand up, and so the button that I push to talk is further away than usual because I don't want my legs to get dead. So you guys are just sitting there, they're probably waiting for me to talk, and I'm like, oh, now I got to reach down and push the button. So yeah, that's why I wasn't talking then. So yeah, what have we not mentioned yet? There's so much going on. Oh my god.
Twitch drops.
Well,
yeah.
And so much that just started today.
Yeah. I'm gonna let Joe talk about Twitch drops because he mentioned it.
There are more Twitch drops that are live on various channels that are participating in them. I believe the current one is the Eternal Purple Joyous Rocket thing. Perpetual Purple Firework, I think, is the actual name of it. But it is essentially something that existed in the card game back in ye olden days that you could only purchase with Upper Deck points. Which when that got purchased from Upper Deck by Cryptozoic back in the day, it stopped becoming available. There's also a slew of tabards that you can only get that way. I have them all because I'm a horrible addict when it comes to stuff like that. But now you can get it by watching so many hours of your participating Twitch streamers, and it'll be just like the mounts and everything else that is already released. And you can have yourself a little piece of you know what? At this point, I would call it WoW history because that was sort of a monumentous occasion where an MMO got its own TCG, and that TCG had loot that crossed both from the game from the tabletop game to the virtual video game, because that had not been done before. Not really.
What aren't there also future drops coming in? Like I thought the Ichabod toy was coming in. Did you mention that?
No, it's already gone.
Ichabod's
gone.
Ichabod was last round.
So yeah, if you didn't get Ichabod, or the Swift, there was a mount whose name I'm forgetting.
Swift Windsteed.
But I'm afraid you are too late on those drops. Right now is only this firework toy, and it is only from watching World First streams. You have to watch 4 hours. Or, have them on in the background and ignore them if that's your personal preference.
Yes, it is. I have stuff. I don't ignore things in the background, but I tend to have things in the background so I can. I don't know. I think it's an ADHD thing. I just like to disassociate a bit and just let the thing go on in the background. But isn't Overwatch also doing them?
Overwatch has some drops this week as well, and that's actually all I know about Overwatch drops.
I knew that they were happening during the time that Ramatra was being tested or something. Like Ramatra's is out now, and they were also doing drops, but I don't know what they are. Sorry, guys. I should have been able to find that out, and it's my bad that I couldn't. I'm feeling really bad that Ichabod's not available. But also, we should mention briefly the both Hearthstone and World of Warcraft get the Feast of Winter Veil, and Overwatch 2 gets its Winter Wonderland holiday. I think the Winter Wonderland holiday is out already. Am I correct in this?
Yes. Winter Wonderland is live. It's live right now in Overwatch.
Yeah, and 16th is for the Feast of Winter Veils, right?
Yeah, the 16th is for the Feast of Winter Veil in WoW. There's a Winter Veil in Hearthstone that's on December 21st.
But the Hearthstone one is a little weird because they started a couple of holiday things immediately. There's another Battleground Bash with holiday themed things. I'm really not a fan of the Battleground Bashes. It's basically pay us $10
and then play the game a bunch to get random cosmetics, and I don't think that's super fun or necessarily worth $10.
One or the other,
But,
guys. You can have me pay you for them, or you can have me do stuff for them. But you can't have me pay you to get to do stuff for them. That's another step.
Yeah.
They're trying to make fetch happen, and by fetch I mean battle passes.
Well, if you want to talk about battle passes, if you count the Battleground Bash as a battle pass, it would be Hearthstone's third battle pass, because there's already a battle pass for the standard game, there's a battle pass for Battlegrounds, and now there are also these Battleground Bashes. And it's kind of a nutso number of things going on. But that is live today. And also they have kind of a winter veil kind of card giveaway, which it's like, it's weird. They announced Winter Veil starting on the 21st, and then they're like, oh yeah, also we have all this other winter stuff that's starting right now. It's like, don't give me more dates to hold in my head. I can't hold all of these things.
Why can't it just be Winter Veil now?
Exactly. I can't keep up with all of these things. Give me time, give me things all at once so I don't have to think about it.
At least the card pack thing is literally you just log on and get them. Like you just
it's a little more than log on and get them, but it's pretty much they're giving away free card packs to anyone who logs on right now. There are 10 card packs, 2 from each of the most recent expansions, except the one that just came out. There's no March of the Lich King cards, but you get 2 Murder at Castle Nathria packs, 2 Voyage to the Sunken City packs, 2 Fractured in Alterac Valley packs, 2 United in Stormwind packs, and 2 Forged in the Barrens packs. That's a pretty good number of cards. So, and you don't have to do much for them. Just hop onto the game, go into the store, and look for the A Holiday Special Bundle. It will be marked as free. You just need to go in and purchase it in the store, but it's free. So just go in and grab it.
So yeah, that's the way for the future, guys. Don't do battle passes. Just give us stuff.
I definitely prefer that.
Well, speaking of, Wrath Classic is bringing back the Joyous Journey 50% XP buff deal. It's from today, right now, until January 16th, I believe. And what that means is it's basically exactly what they did before Wrath Classic actually came out, only this time it goes straight up to level 80. So if you've got a character you want to get up to level 80 for Wrath Classic, maybe you want to switch mains, maybe you want to get some alts leveled, maybe you finally going to make that Death Knight you keep telling yourself you're going to make, and you're like, yeah, I can make a Death Knight and I can get that mount, and then you remember that the mount expired on the 28th of November, and so you can't get the mount. Then you feel a little bad, but then you level your Death Knight anyway because it's 50% bonus XP from everything up to level 80, which is probably the best deal on XP you're going to get in Wrath Classic anytime soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's free. You don't have to pay anything for it, and you can turn it off if you decide I'd rather leveling take longer and be harder to do, which you can. That's you. That's up to you there. If you decide that, you can go to any innkeeper in any of the capital cities and Dalaran. So Stormwind, Orgrimmar, Ironforge, Undercity, Darnassus, Thunderbluff, and Dalaran. Probably the Quel'Thalas and the Exodar as well, but I don't remember if those count as actual faction capital cities or not. But regardless, you can go to pretty much any of them, and you can just talk to any innkeeper and be like, yeah, turn my XP bonus off because I want this to be hard. And they'll let you. They're like, okay, you're a masochist, whatever. But yeah, so that's happening.
One thing I wonder about this is we were speculating that Wrath Classic Phase 2 might be starting in late January. So I wonder if this is kind of indicative of a start date for Phase 2, if they're giving us this to help us get leveled up to go into Ulduar.
It does feel like that's got to be related because it's going straight up to January 16th, which is,
exactly.
It's interesting.
That's a month. That's a solid month.
It's a month of doing it, and it's like the timing is interesting because why give people bonus XP now unless you want them to like get a chance to make whatever changes they want or bring any characters up or to get your friends to play because now Ulduar's coming out and your friend who loved Ulduar, you're like, hey, Joe, we loved Ulduar. And Joe's here going, Matt, I know that. I work for this site. And I'm like, come on, Joe, it's for a rhetorical device for this podcast. Just let me go with it. And he's like, I refuse to participate in this. But regardless.
That's me. I'm a Debbie Downer.
Well, no, it's actually me who's the Debbie Downer. So when I emulate you, anyway. But so there's that. That's cool. That's interesting. The thing I didn't know about at all until I saw it in our work thing, actually, Diablo 2 is getting the 22 Nights of Terror event. Do we know? Is that now? Is that out now?
It's out now. They announced it today and it's live today. So
yeah, tell us about this one because I missed this one.
I don't know anything about it.
Me neither. Okay. I've been a really bad Diablo player, so I've been playing a lot of Diablo, but not that one.
The thing is, they announced it today, and I put it in the queue for someone to write it today. But all of this happened today when 100 other things happened today.
So I can talk about this a little bit if that will, be helpful.
Please do. Yes. Please do.
So the entire idea of it is that from December 13th through January, I want to say 4th, I think that's 22 days. Basically, the world of Sanctuary is being steeped in demonic magic, and basically there's new gameplay via the in-game message of the day that will last for 24 hours. So it's every night something new happens, whether it's powerful loot, different new creatures or modifiers on elites, and like different events that are going to occur that you used to be able to see. Like it harkens back to the older days of Diablo 2, where if you Blizzard, you don't listen to this part, used to run private network games of it, and you can modify it back in the day where you could actually have somebody take on the role almost like a GM and modify elites and do stuff in real time to spawn special events and things like that. And then on top of doing that, you have extra loot that might be more powerful. It might be worth, 10 Staff of Jordans. You never know. So it's an interesting way to sort of try to spice it up a little bit and give it something almost akin to daily versions of adventure mode from Diablo 3 in Diablo 2.
It reminds me of Terror Zones that they put in.
Very similar.
Yeah. But instead of it being a zone, it's just the whole world.
And it will work in every Diablo 2 online game mode except for classic Diablo 2.
Yeah, I would imagine. Because classic Diablo 2 is literally just the original game.
Correct.
So, but yeah, that's pretty cool. And that's something I'm sorry I didn't hear about because, man, that's something I'd find really interesting.
It's lasting through January. You still have time.
Yeah. Also, we should mention the LFR for the Vault of the Incarnates opens on the 19th of December. The Future Wings are on January 2nd and I think January 16th.
You're correct. Okay. I typoed that.
I'm just glad I was trying to figure it out. But yeah, so that's happening. I like LFR, so I'm glad that they're going to have it. I kind of wish they'd opened Wing 1 the same time as everything else. I don't get why LFR players have to wait an extra week to get to do it. But I
am also really curious about that. Like, why is that a thing now?
It's been a thing this whole time, but usually it was Mythic and LFR that it opened a week later.
Right,
but now they put Mythic in with everything else, but they kept LFR on the staggered release thing, and they kept it a week late.
It's always been like normal and heroic, and then Mythic, and then LFR. So LFR really, really lagged behind, and sometimes LFR was a couple of weeks after Mythic, and they wait a couple of weeks between each LFR wing. This actually feels to me like a slightly accelerated LFR timeline, but you still have to wait a really long time to run the whole thing in LFR.
Yeah. And that's just, I get that they're doing that. They have done it before. They'll likely do it again. But I feel like if you're going to release everything else on the same day, you could at least put the first wing of LFR up at the same day. At least let people who run LFR primarily at least get a week of loot. There's no reason they shouldn't get anything, but regardless, yeah, that's what's going on with that. So if you are the kind of person who is curious about that, that is when that has happened. Talked about the Primal Storms, talked about the trading posts, talked about the Race for World First. We talked about that. Yeah. At this point, I think we have actually covered the news. And it only took us 30 minutes.
How did that happen?
I think we just really ran.
Efficiency, yeah.
There was no efficiency. It's us.
No, it's us.
But regardless, that covers pretty much everything. So we're going to move on and actually talk about the emails. Oh, Joe's got something.
I was going to say real quick for chat and for those listening home, I understand that LFR and Mythic always released at the same time in the past. My statement was more, I don't understand why it's still a delayed thing. Just for clarification's sake. All right, now you can move on.
Okay. So yeah, we've got, I don't think we actually have any emails this week. Nobody sent us any emails. This is sad, Matt, looking at you now, guys. Sad, Matt. But we do still have 3 questions from our Discord and 1 question from the last week when we were doing our 400th anniversary that we didn't get to. And I felt like, they were nice enough to ask us a question for the 400th episode. I keep saying 400th anniversary because it does feel like we've been doing this for 400 years. Liz's thing about 80 years ago. Yeah, she's not wrong. 80 years a year from now on. Yeah, absolutely. It feels that way. But so if you've got a question, first off, you can email it to us, and please do. I like emails. Come on, don't just send in emails for Lore Watch. We can talk about lore on this show too. Liz is getting into lore now. She actually cares about some of it. We can wean her forward.
It starts with Handsome Wizards.
That's a mistake.
It's a mistake for you carrying it?
It's a mistake to care about lore because it only leads to disappointment. I'm going to hit this point where I'm like really getting into the lore, and then something stupid is going to happen, and I'm just going to be annoyed by it.
Look, we're not going to have a boys trip. We're not having any boys trips to the Dragon Isles. It's
how do you know? I didn't expect to have a boys trip to Draenor, but there you go.
Well, to be fair, there were women there. They were just being treated horribly because, Anyway,
that's kind of the story of classic Warcraft.
Yeah. But okay, so if you don't want to send us an email, which you could do at podcast@blizzardwatch.com, subject line podcast or Blizzard Watch, so we know it's for this show. You also go to our Discord where we've got 2 channels. One for our patrons because you guys pay the bills and that helps us keep doing this. So you can go to the patron Q and podcast questions channel, but we understand that not everybody can be a patron. So for you who are supporting us in other ways, like telling people to listen to our shows, hanging out and chatting with us and otherwise being cool folks, you can go to the Q and podcast questions channel and ask a question there. We've done this various ways in the past. This time I'm just going to say, Liz, you go ahead and read the first one.
Okay. From Shadana. I maybe got that right. I'm sorry if I didn't.
Shadana.
Shadana. Okay. What in-game thing gives you more anxiety than it should for characters are digital and either disappear when you log out or are unfeeling? Example, I loved seeing the off-duty defender in the Mage's Rest in the Azure Span because it gives me hope that those portal-generating mages all over Azeroth and Outland and Draenor and even the Afterlife get some break time. It bothers me to imagine they're stuck there just generating a portal all the time. I was not previously worried about that, but now I am. I'm a little concerned. Do we have the unionization in Azeroth, and should we? Because that would be wrong if we're just having these people stand there open.
Thank you for the anxiety,
all
Shadna.
Day.
But do you have another one besides the one Shad just gave you?
I will say there are some quests that I just can't not do. I've had this one very recently with going up to the Ruby Life Shrine, and I'm walking around minding my business. Oh, I've got something to do. I need to get profession stuff done. I'm gonna go over here, and then I walk past Lily Straza. Y'all know what I'm getting at. I walk past Lily Straza, which is a sad little dragon whelp. If you haven't done Lily Straza's quest, you are heartless, and that's very sad. I walk past Lily Straza and I'm like, yeah, I've got to go do this thing. Got to go do whatever I'm here for. And I'm like, I'm gonna focus, gonna do this thing. And then you hear Lily Straza crying behind you. And I always turn around and go back. And I have to do the whole quest. And yeah. Things like that really slow down my gameplay because I can't leave these NPCs alone. I've also been wondering, you know the NPC in the Waking Shores, the one that greets you when you come there? Mm-hmm. I'm forgetting their name.
Oh yeah. I know about her.
Yeah. Yes.
I love this character, and I wish this character would stick around for a while, and you were both don't get attached.
She's really great. She greets you when you first arrive, and I adore her. And now I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe if I just, on my alts, if I just don't play this campaign through to the end, maybe if I just never play through the Waking Shores, maybe she'll be okay and everything will be fine. I don't think that's how it works, but
It would be nice.
It would be nice.
Joe?
There is one quest, and I'm going to channel my inner raids here for a moment, that breaks my heart, even though I know that it's just a digital creations that just exist for the whim of the game. There's an NPC that some of you might be familiar with, and his name is Grimclaw. And there's a whole quest called A Lost Master. It's a level 20 quest from Darkshore back in the day, where you wind up going and helping Grimclaw find out what happened to their lost master. It is one of the saddest quests because Grimclaw just doesn't understand what's going on. Grimclaw's just a polar bear. Grimclaw just wants to hang out with its master. It doesn't understand why master isn't responding. It's worried. And it's one of those I know, Liz is gonna yelling at me, silently screaming. I can feel it. But it's one of those things where you know how it's going to end. You know what the end point is. And for me, I still do that quest, and I will always do that quest whenever I can, whether I have to go in the classic and do it or whatever. It's just heart wrenching, and it gives me anxiety in not maybe in the same way, but it's even though I know where it's going to go, it's I feel so bad for this polar bear, right? I am so bad. It's feel so sad for it. So and there are a bunch of quests that just hit you right in the feels. Most recently, we talked about one, and hopefully I'm not stealing any of Matt's thunder, but just in Dragonflight, there's a quest with Veristraz, and in dwarf form, you just sit and talk with a dragon in dwarf form. And it, again, the only way that the developers could have made that quest hit any harder, and I'm trying really hard not to swear, would be if they had gotten somebody to voice act it. And I'm convinced it is entirely why they didn't have somebody do the voice acting, because it's just such a somber moment, and it's written so well. And you just can't help but feel in that moment for them. And I've done that quest 3 times now on different characters, and I still sit and listen every single time.
For me, it's a little different because I these are all good moments you're talking about. They have emotional impact and heft and all that, but they don't make me anxious. You want to know what makes me anxious? I'm going to go all the way back to the first time I played Horde, back around, I want to say 2006. When I finally made my Horde character, and I played my Horde character up to I think at the time this was still original WoW, so level 60. I remember going to the Barrens with my wife, who was on a hunter that she had made, and I was on a warrior because it's me. And when we got there, we immediately got these quests go get us so many Zevrahorn hooves, go get us so many beaks. And as we're doing the quests, I keep killing Zevra over and over and over again, and they're not dropping hooves. I'm how hard am I hitting these Zevra that all 4 of the hooves on this animal that it was literally just using to attack me are gone? Am I destroying its hooves with one mighty blow? What's happening to the hooves? And then I remembered going to Westfall the year before, and they send you out to get the materials for a pie, things like boar hearts and vulture gizzards, and I'm did every single 1 in 10 boars, if that, dropped a heart? What? It's just not feasible that I was destroying 9 out of 10 hearts. I knew why I was there. Wouldn't I not stab him in the heart? Just, I don't know. This makes me really anxious. It's are these animals actually devoid of these body parts? Are there is there an epidemic of really weird, twisted, malformed animals on Azeroth? And if so, why are you eating them? You don't know what made this thing not have a heart, or why it's still moving without a heart. I would think on Azeroth, a world that actually has undead things, you'd be really leery about eating an animal that did not have a heart. That's just me. I feel strange that way. regardless, those kind of quests to this day cause in me, I don't know what it is. It's like full on, like, this is impossible. They have to have a heart. It must have a heart. Why doesn't it have one? They freak me out. So yeah, that makes me super anxious. But I now think that that's the answers, and these two both got really quiet, so I'm feeling like they're judging me. But hey, go ahead. I know I'm weird.
I was just waiting for the go ahead to move on to the next one.
Yeah,
you're kind of the wrangler of the show.
It's just that Joe brought up Grimclaw, and whenever anyone brings up Grimclaw, I have to break out in tears. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Grimclaw one is pretty sad. But regardless, Joe will now read the second question, I think.
I believe I will as well, I think. Will we see a new Azeroth not connected to the Cataclysm storyline in the near future? Honestly, I'm less concerned about the enormous sword in Azeroth than I am about the Cataclysm story and Deathwing fire still burning for 12 years. With this new Blizzard, do you think we will get closure, continuation, and or conclusions to story, like the burning of Teldrassil, Gilnea's city, Sargeras' sword, etc.? As always, thanks for the podcast, and this is from our friend Starhammer. Maybe. There are a couple different combating thoughts here, and maybe I might not go where you intended, but I'm going to go two different places here. One, I often posited that one of the cool things that WoW Classic could have done, if it was going to turn into a full its own development cycle, is never have Cataclysm. To start developing things from like an alternate universe world where Cataclysm never happens, Deathwing never returns. The world isn't sundered, and see what happens after that. One of my favorite comic book series as a kid was always the What If comic book series. I always loved it because it was different takes on things. It was different ways of looking at some of the classic heroes that I grew up with, and maybe not necessarily things that needed to be their own long-term thing. But in this particular case, I wouldn't mind seeing a what if that sort of spins off into one direction and gives us a world in which Cataclysm just never occurred, where Thrall never took that step in and became the stand-in for the aspect of Earth. And I would always be fascinated by that. Do I think it'll ever happen? That particular thing? Probably not. The other side of the coin is I think we are already moving towards closure on things. While we are dealing with what is now currently like a multi-thousand-year-old wound as far as it is with the dragon aspects, the dragon flights, and the sort of like primal dragons, these primal elemental dragons, and the Titans and everything that sort of goes with that, and the ordering of Azeroth and why this is potentially a problem. That in and of itself is sort of a journey of closure, right? It's something where we're taking things that were, I don't want to say like major wounds during the time of Tyr and the Watchers, but like, I don't really know a better way to say it. Like, they were major events, right? They had gravity to them, but we never really dealt with them. And, the aspects never dealt with them, and now we're dealing with them. And I think it sort of has the potential to set the precedent of moving towards points of closure on a lot of other things. Like you mentioned, these fires from Deathwing still burning for 12 years. Maybe we cut away to a world where, now with phasing technology and everything else, that maybe those fires are turned out are turned off. They're put out, and new growth is starting to form where the ash and barren land once was, because that's what happens after fires of that sort of magnitude. Vegetation dies, turns to ash, and seeds the ground with rich nutrients that breathes new life. Maybe we see Azeroth start to heal a little bit more. Maybe we see Teldrassil reborn. Maybe we see we don't know what's going to happen with this expansion. We already have some hints that there might be something to do with that seed and what they do with it and what that means. But I'd like to see the rebuilding and cleansing of Gilnea's city. The Sword of Sargeras, maybe dealing with that and getting it out of the planet. Sure, maybe that's the thing. But I think we're in a position where we're going to start doing little bits of closure as we move along. It'll be parts of the story, maybe not the main story, but we'll get little pieces of it here and there. And I've talked a lot, so I'm going to shut up now.
Liz?
I mean, I'd like to see closure for a lot of these stories. I continue to feel like we need a whole expansion where we just hang out on Azeroth
and fix things we have broken. Maybe we go to Pandaria and we rebuild the Jade Serpent statue because it feels like over the course of World of Warcraft, we have wrecked a lot of things. And there were a lot of things wrecked before World of Warcraft even started. There were a lot of bad things that had already previously happened before any of us had actually even gotten here. And I do feel bad. Going back to the question about anxiety, it's like, I worry about these things. I worry that Gilneas is just like this, destroyed, plague-ridden city. Lordaeron has been completely wrecked for the second time now. Silver Moon still has damage from the Scourge attack, which was, 40 years ago? 30 years ago? And it's, why can't we just, I would just feel better. I would feel better in my heart if we had a chance to repair things. Or even if in the background things got better because there are NPCs there who are working on these things while we're off having adventures. But no, bad things happen and they never get fixed. And yeah, I didn't even bring up the big one, which is Teldrassil. What are we doing about this? We have Night Elf refugees everywhere, and we need to do something. But we're hanging out with dragons. I'm enjoying hanging out with the dragons, but it's like we got to fix some of these things we've broken too. And I wish we got those stories. I don't know if we're ever going to get those stories because, like, a story where you're going back to. If I'm going back to Silver Moon, if my blood elf goes back to Silver Moon and I'm like, I'm going to rebuild this city wall, that's not exciting. But I really wish we could go back and fix some of these things.
Well, I mean, we do know that some stuff is going on with some of those, but I'll be upfront. I don't think we're ever going to get a post-Cataclysm WoW. And the reason I don't think we're ever going to get a post-Cataclysm WoW is Cataclysm WoW. When they did that, when they created the Cataclysm world, it created the situation where we finally had to come out with WoW Classic to give it back to people. All the stuff that they took out to make room for the Cataclysm stuff. I don't think they want to put their development into a revamp of older content. Now,
you say that as we have a new Alderman dungeon.
Yeah, but they'll do it piecemeal when it fixes the story, but they didn't take out the old Alderman to put in a new Alderman.
Sure.
And when they did the Karazhan 5-mans, they put a different entrance in. And I remember it because that's the entrance we used to use to sneak in. We used to sneak in through that entrance up on that bridge and basically bypass the first, like we'd have a rogue literally go into the raid, stealth and make their way up and then just open the door from the inside and then we'd sneak in. So we would actually bypass the first several bosses on Karazhan using that trick. We can't do that anymore because now it's an entrance to like 5-man dungeons. So now you actually have to kill all those bosses. It's quite annoying. But regardless, that's why I don't think we're going to ever see a complete world revamp. That doesn't mean that we won't see anything involving like the quest that the Horde got for, Undercity at the end of Shadowlands is a good example of content that redresses older content without removing it. And I think that is more likely to happen. Without giving any spoilers, we know that the seed that the Winter Queen gave to Tyrande plays a role in Dragonflight. And because of that seed, a certain thing happens where a character I like and most other people don't like ends up in a different state than they were when it starts. They're not dead, but they're very different. And that's just something that happens. That kind of stuff I think we'll see. I think we could definitely see, I would love to see Gilneas get dealt with. I don't want to see Sargeras' sword ever get dealt with. I want that to just be permanent. There's a big sword in Silithus. It's there. It's so massive that there's nothing we can do about it. We've already done all we can to make sure it doesn't kill the planet, and now it is there. And yeah, it's just a landmark feature now. Just accept it. It's not coming out. But that's me. I'm sure a lot of other people will be very happy if they, figured out a way to pull the sword out. My feeling on it is always the same. You don't pull something that's punctured somebody out until you are absolutely ready to fix what happens when you pull those things out. I remember actually when I was a kid, I got a nail driven into my forearm, And when he took me to the doctor, they were like, you didn't try and pulling it out, did you? And my father was like, no, I didn't want him to start bleeding everywhere. That's exactly the thing. You just have to be absolutely sure you are ready to pull that thing out. So yeah, I don't want it pulled out. But regardless, I do think we are going to see some quests that redress some things, but I don't think we'll ever see a flat out, the Cataclysm's over, so now Azeroth doesn't look like that anymore, because they did that when they created the Cataclysm, and it was an uneven experience for people. Let me put it that way. I actually liked a lot of it, but I understand for a lot of people who were at max level didn't see most of it. There's a lot of work went into that expansion that was practically invisible to players who were starting to play the expansion, who had characters at max level. They didn't get to see any of it. And then if you went through on an alt and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on in Feralus? Why is one of the green dragons here? What's going on? This is a really cool story beat. It's a shame we didn't have this at max level. So yeah, that's my feeling on that. But Liz, if you don't mind, I think we got time for one more.
Okay, let's see. From Winterwolf. After hitting max level in Dragonflight, I felt a bit lost. As someone who does not PvP or run a lot of dungeons, I just continue doing what I've been doing during leveling, i.e. doing side quests and working on professions, and possibly doing the odd world quest. Why this works for now, I cannot help but think that I am missing something. Ideas? Honestly, I'm kind of doing the same thing, and I do raid and do dungeons, but there are so many side quests in the Dragon Isles. I still have not finished them. I usually do Lore Master like straight off in expansions because I go through zones comprehensively and do everything, but I am nowhere close in this expansion. And the raid opened this week, so I've got to go into that, and I have not finished even most of the side quests. There is so much to do here. So there are going to be more things to do for solo players. Professions certainly are going to be a bit more involved process. There are these ongoing weekly, bi-weekly events that are going to be, that you can already participate in, like the soup. I think there's a lot to do, and maybe there's too much to do. I do also feel overwhelmed. But I don't think, I'm not bored. It's kind of, I'm being pulled in so many directions. It's hard to tell what to go. What do y'all think?
I think there is an overwhelming amount of options when you hit max level. And some of it is not the easiest to comprehend. We were actually talking about it a little bit on the pre-show, where like with professions being as they are right now and them being so involved, that's its own thing that you can get involved with, especially at max level. The different reps, the different renown levels with all the different areas. Like there's a lot of just sheer volume of things to do, and it can be overwhelming. And I think it's both a really good thing that there's that many options and a really bad thing. Like, you know how they gave you the here's the base spec for your thing that you chose, for your specialization. Here you go. If you don't want to think about the talent tree, they should do something where they break down, like, here are the activities if you want to do something. Like, if you want to take the crafting route, go do this. If you want to take the story lore route, go do this. If you want to, like, there should be like a little bit of a guide to like kind of give you a little bit of a direction and a push.
Perhaps some kind of adventurer's guide
that maybe could be leveraged in this capacity. Yes. But yeah, I would agree. It's just overwhelming. It can be.
I mean, one of the things I was thinking as Liz was reading this question is they just brought in the Primal Storms, and it's a way for you to get gear about as good as a heroic without ever setting foot in a dungeon. So you can do that. You can do crafting. Like, I crafted a bunch of like 343 gear like as soon as I hit 70. Actually, I crafted it at like level 64, and then I had it when I hit 70, so I could immediately equip it. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and both Joe and Liz have hit up on the point that it can be kind of overwhelming. I think the best approach to it is not dissimilar to what Joe's saying. I mean, no one's going to do that for you, but if you sit down and say, okay, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? Like, I haven't done any of the dragon riding quests yet. Like the tours around various zones, I haven't done any of them. I've still got a relatively high dragon riding. I've got like 5 vigor, but I haven't been killing myself to pursue all the options, just because I know there will be a point in time when I have done everything I feel like doing. And when I get there, the dragon riding quests will be waiting for me. The rock climbing quest. There's entire quests about just climbing rocks. Like, that's in this game. I feel like you have to look at it not as, oh my God, how do I do all this? How do I do everything? Don't even try. There's too much for you to do everything. Pick out some things you want to do. Like, I really do think that, just going around doing the side quests is a really good use of your time.
Mm-hmm.
They give a lot of really cool story beats. A lot of them are absolutely tangentially related to you or the dragons or anything. It's a nice change of pace to go someplace, and they're not waiting for the hero to come save the day. They're just like, hey, there's some gnolls over there, and they're kind of sick. You might want to avoid them or help us out or something. And it's not about you; it's about that. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this expansion. But yeah, there is a lot of interesting stuff in this expansion, and you're gonna I'm only intermittently doing the whole, which dragon do you want to be buddies with, Sibelian or Rathian? I'm doing it a little, but I'm not killing myself to do it because there's just so much else to do. But from time to time, I come out here and I pal around with Rathian and be like, yeah, buddy, you're cool. I like you. So far, I'm backing you, but eventually Sibelian's going to seduce me with his logic and turn on you and betray you, man. It's just the way it is. So yeah, I think that is my take on this, that you shouldn't try to do everything. You should just pick some things to do. It sounds to me like you're doing what you like doing, and that's fine. You don't have to worry about it. But there's a lot of other stuff if you want to do it. I definitely think you should check out the Primal Storms, because if you want to get geared up for when you might want to start doing other content, it's not a bad way to go to get the 359, and you don't even have to set foot in heroic to do it. But I think that's basically it. So we should probably call it. Are you guys good with calling it?
Yeah, I think I'm good if you guys are.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I will turn to Joe expectantly, like my dog when she sees I'm eating some steak.
That's because Matt wants me to tell you that Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means this podcast site and community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, a better chance at having your question answered on our podcast or the queue, and an ads-free site experience.
Thank you very much, Joe. And also thank you to Liz for all you do for this podcast as well. And thank you to all of you guys who give us a reason to do a podcast, because otherwise it would just be the three of us talking. If you've got a question for the Blizzard Watch podcast, you can send it to our email, podcast@blizzardwatch.com, with the subject line podcast or Blizzard Watch, so we know it's for the show. Or you can hit up our Discord. We've got two channels for it: the Patron Q and Podcast Questions channel for patrons. They get first crack at the podcast, or the Q and Podcast channel, which we can still take questions from, because we do. But yeah, that's basically it. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast, episode number 401, and we'll see you all next week.